Do the tunneling, something I haven't really discussed here, but something described in his previous books is tunneling technology. Suffice to say that our tunneling technology is very, very sophisticated. And we can tunnel huge, huge tunnels a long, long way. So if you're able to get even under the, if you want to go under the bed of the Pacific Ocean, this is theoretically possible. And as I'll show you in a moment, not only is it theoretically possible, it was planned. Back in 1968, we have a document developed out of the Stanford Research Institute in California. Stanford Research Institute, SRI, has done defense think tank work for years and years and years. This is just one of those studies that came out and was presented at a conference in 1968. Actually, I don't know if it was presented at a conference, it was in a paper. I think, yes, it was presented at a conference too. Now, listen carefully to this. I'm going to read this to you. The authors write, the construction of 30 manned in-bottom bases, in-bottom meaning under the ocean floor. Construction of 30 manned in-bottom bases within the ocean floors is technically and economically feasible. However, it will be necessary to establish some successive types of experimental facilities before a full construction program can be started. This could take 15 years, so by the early 80s, I guess. The major technology for a land-linked station in-bottom is established now. Only adaptations are needed. A distinction between in-bottom and on-bottom facilities is made. This is quoting from their abstract. Wherein areas of 1 atmosphere space can be created in-bottom at such low cost. Presently, establishing an in-bottom facility and building upon this will present fewer technical difficulties than do the submersibles which support it and use it. So in other words, building 30 of these bases, which by the way they estimated a figure of $2.7 billion to build 30 undersea bases. Think about that. Even in 1968, that's chump change when you're talking about spending of this particular sort. So, wow, retro. That's fine. We'll edit that out of the video. So the point is simply not were these definitely built. We don't really know. We don't have direct confirmation that they were built. Okay. But we've got a very detailed study by a defense think tank saying, yeah, it's not only feasible, it's fairly cheap. We really can do this. And in terms of doing it, when they were talking about a land-linked station, so that would be like off the shore, presumably. So that's easier to do than going deep into the ocean. Okay, admittedly, but how far in can you go? Well, I guess it's how far your tunneling technologies want to take you. So now that takes us to the illustrations of Walter Kirschner. So Walter Kirschner was I shouldn't say was, he's still alive. He was an illustrator working for the United States Navy during the 1960s. And in the late 60s, he was attached to the Navy's China Lake facility. At that time, the U.S. Navy was developing detailed plans for creating large, technologically complex, deeply buried manned bases beneath the seafloor in mid-ocean. How do we know this? Walter Kirschner was assigned to illustrate the Navy's plans to do so in 1968. Just so happens the same year as the study that I just referred to earlier. So I'm going to show you some of these beautiful illustrations. This is a depiction of, and you know, I would point out that Kirschner wasn't just drawing this whimsically. He was working off of specific Navy plans. So they told him, we want you to depict this facility, and we want you to depict this and this and this. So this is off of off of Santa Catalina Island, the rock site base, as it's called. So you've got the water line here, and then below the water line, you've got this off the side of the Undersea mountain. Under the water, Kirshner, he just drew these really great, neat illustrations. You'll notice the glass domes here. One thing that we've learned is that glass under the water has an incredible tensile strength. It's stronger than steel, from what I understand. It's surprisingly strong. The glass spherical shape can withstand an enormous amount of pressure. And I skipped that accidentally. So there's one guy there. And I'll just show you some more of these here. I'm not sure what is going on with some of these. In fact, I brought a copy of Richard's book here, so I'm going to cheat a little bit and just read along here where this goes. He goes, right, how might the opening to the sea from such a facility look? In the next view, and this is this right here, the artist shows how high-profile visitors could view underwater activity in a dry environment. Notice the access tunnel and the spherical glass bubble viewing area. And here's another representation. Guy waving hello. He's got a camera down there. And you'll notice too, so he's attached, there's like an opening here, and you go up, I guess, through the tube to a secure environment in this little sphere. And this is another viewing capsule for high-profile visitors, as it's called. This was Kirshner's titles. So presumably his Navy bosses said, we want you to draw the picture of a viewing capsule for high-profile visitors. So that's where, if we were important, we would go there and we would see what was going on there. Now it gets a little more interesting. He was told to draw an undersea base that would house Polaris submarines. So now you can see right over here is a submarine is guided in. That's the submarine right there. Okay, and it goes in through here. And I'm not sure how all of this is supposed to work. I've looked at this a number of times, but these here are capsules for people. And all of this, I should mention, I mean, it looks like it's all external, but this is a cutaway, so this is all inside the mountain. So it goes into the mountain here, into the undersea mountain. And you've got, various system of locks and so forth, presumably you can see the water levels right in there too, right? So, all very interesting. And there's other activities got going on. I don't think these are rocks. Yeah, that is a rock, I guess. Okay.
They look like beacons that might be sticking up above the ocean floor.
They look like
beacons.
Beacons.
Like runways?
Oh, yeah, right. Runways or lights, exactly. Right along here. These. This is another one. It's called the Racetrack Undersea. And again, so all of this is under a mountain, inside the mountain, obviously. It's just a cutaway view. Submarines come in through here. And it's kind of neat. They're guided in through this sort of like a little cage that sort of, this way you can sort of slide in without much damage, I would assume. And you go in, and it's like a docking station here, and then you can go out to quarters, like stationing quarters, where you can just sleep and have some R&R. And there's another one up here. And how elaborate these might be, well, I don't know how elaborate their plans were. Now this is, you see these spirals a lot in Kirshner's illustrations. You'll see in another couple of them. And the reason for the spiral design is that, and again, I should point out, this is all cutaway, is that if you're tunneling, okay, doing a spiral is actually a lot easier to do. So if you're carving out a space inside an undersea mountain, this presumably is a logical way to do it.